Hello, everybody. It's me, George, and today I wanted to share something with you guys. Something quite special, to be honest with you, that's had an incredibly beautiful effect upon me as a practitioner of the nameless art, but also as a human being in general. Um, and it's something that obviously I'm quite limited to what I'm able to say because this does concern other people. And you'll see the more I kind of go on with things. But I have ended up becoming part of a coven. Now, first and foremost, we're not a physical coven, as in we physically meet up together and practice together. That would be amazing because there is such a connection there, but we're not an online coven as well. Rather than we're a coven between people dotted around different parts of the UK, Scotland, and England. Um, and it all started with myself and my cousin. So, if any of you don't know, I'm not the only witch in my family, which is amazing. My cousin is also a practitioner of oldcraft witchcraft. And admittedly, it was her that took me to my first pagan festival and witchcraft festival in London. Some of you might remember them, the old Caduceus, the Raven and the Rose pagan and witchcraft festivals. You had the Beltane Bash and then the Samhain one as well. I can't remember what the Samhain one was called, but the Beltane Bash was in Holborn, which I used to call Holborn when I was like 13. And the other one was in Mile End. And yeah, but going back to the subject at hand, what's happened this year has been incredibly, profoundly beautiful. And as mentioned, it's had a really good impact on us all, on everyone concerned. And obviously, I've got the okay from everyone to talk about this as well. And I guess I wanted to document it. And quite often on my channel, I tend to document things that have a good impact or a profound impact upon me as a practitioner of witchcraft. Um, and yeah, so without further ado, I kind of wanted to touch briefly on that. It was kind of the beginning of this year when I felt the call of Diana, the huntress, the divine huntress, and I felt her calling really, really strongly to the point where I would, I'm very fond of gardening, and in the springtime, I would be bringing flowers back that would be heavily associated with her after I kind of checked. Because I used to buy quite often when I go gardening, I'll buy a plant that I think just looks pretty or a flower and then go home and be like, oh, I wonder if they have any folklore attached to them, if I can like use them for things. And sure enough, it was, and it had some folklore attached to Diana, even being named after her, which was incredible. And the other thing was, which was really, really strange, 8 years ago, I first worked with Diana with two very beautiful, lovely friends that I'm very close to in a very special place. And we had worked with her and had used a particular chant. And that was something that was very impacting. It was something that was very special at the time for all of us. And I had decided this year, earlier on this year, when I was working with her, I was like, I'm going to do a similar chant. I'm going to do the same chant to what we actually employed when we first worked with her. And I was going to use that. And the night of the ritual, just as before I was about to go and do the ritual, you know how you get like Facebook memories? That had come up, and it was literally like 8 years ago to the day. A friend had tagged me in something, and it was that ritual that we done. And I was like, oh my God, holy fuck. Okay, so this is definitely a thing, this is definitely an omen and a synchronicity. And it's not something that I'm kind of looking into too much because I'm always someone that can be quite, what's the word? Not skeptical, but I'm quite reasonable and I'm quite rational really for some things that happen. But that I was, that alongside the flowers, but there were many other things as well that were happening. Seeing so much symbolism to Diana or Artemis. So yeah, I started to work with her, but my cousin also had performed the same ritual as me. And that was it. It had almost sealed the deal that then we had started to develop a ritual over time, and throughout the year we've slowly developed a ritual, and other people then become involved, and so we created a set ritual for the full moons and for the dark moons, and we've developed this tradition that actually, I have to say, has, as a practitioner, has really impacted me. And here's the tea: I work primarily with spirits, and that hasn't changed. I still work primarily with spirits, though one may argue that a god is just a large spirit, which it is, to be fair. A god or a goddess is just a really big spirit. Um, but, I've had encounters with deity within the past and aspects of deity. I've worked with Jack in the Green in the past, in a very Dionysian way. I've worked with various other deities too, but that have had, a very beautiful, profound impact upon me. But I really wanted to mark this because, they've all been special. All the experiences I've had with deity have been incredibly special. But I just have to document this because this does feel very special and it does feel very beautiful. So just going to explain a little bit, just a wee bit, not too much about what we do, because I think that it's important to kind of not bear all, especially, and I don't want to, because I don't want to exploit any sort of intimate experiences that any of us within the Coven may have had. But when it comes to the full moons, we work very heavily with the white goddess, the divine huntress, protector of women, queen of the forests, Diana or Artemis or Artune. And we work with her very heavily as the white goddess. Alongside with that, we work with Tubal Cain or Tubal Cain, the blacksmith god, the biblical character that many traditional witches will revere and will work with. And when it comes to the dark moon, we work with the black goddess, we work with the pale-faced one, Hecate, queen of the crossroads, queen of the night, queen of darkness, queen of witchcraft, guider of the dead in the underworld. We work very heavily with her. We also, as of recently, work with Pan within the guise of the witch's devil within the dark moon. Alongside that, we are very heavily inspired in terms of its ritual by the Cochranian witchcraft tradition, the clan of Tubal Cain. Again, that does this, well, not again, sorry, it's because I've done this video a couple of times. That does not mean that we are practicing Cochranian witchcraft. We're not doing that at all. It's just inspired by Cochranian witchcraft. And because of that, some of the things that we can do can be quite shamanic within. It has shamanic elements within it. And, its nature can be quite shamanic. Despite the fact we do the same ritual, actually the experiences we are all having are very interpersonal and are very connected, but on a very personal level. Very beautifully, yeah. But alongside that, there are other things we do within the ritual that I'm not going to necessarily discuss here. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to document it because, as mentioned, it's had a really big impact upon me as a practitioner of witchcraft, but not only that, as a person. It's taught me to own my words. It's taught me to own my own power. I feel genuinely really empowered. And I've never felt this empowered before in my life. I'd thought at times I'd felt empowered, but actually nowhere near as much as this. I very much feel like I've stepped into my own power and owned myself. I've owned the things that I've said. And my practice, again, feels very empowered, feels very, very, obviously very lunar. But yeah. Now, a lot of you might be saying, well, Coven's actually a physical thing, but to be fair, right, when we speak of coven or we say the word coven, quite often we have this idea that a coven has to be this oath-bound group that are bound by blood and oaths on stones and in front of the gods, and literally blood is spilled and pacts are made to form this family. And of course, I'm not disputing that that isn't a coven. But if witchcraft is subjective, then to a group of witches, the terminology of coven is also subjective. If you look at the dictionary meaning of a coven, it literally just means a group of witches. It doesn't mean a group of witches that are bound by blood, that are bound by oaths and pacts. It doesn't mean that. It means a group of witches. And so quite often, a lot of the times, within even when I lived in Manchester, when I would work with a group of people, and they would be from different aspects, traditions and currents of witchcraft, they would be my coven in that evening. We wasn't bound by pacts or anything, and some of them may have had actual not actual covens, but they may have had covens bound by oaths and pacts. But it didn't stop us in that night as a group of witches from being a coven. So that's what I mean. We're not bound by oaths or pacts or anything like that. And there's no magistra, there's no maid, there's no summoner. We're our own magistra, we're our own maid, we're our own summoner. We have equality within our coven. We're completely equals. And we're our own magistras. Again, that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with a coven having a set magistra and a maid and a summoner. Absolutely not. It's nothing at all. But it just means with what we do at the moment, on that set day, those set days, the set times, there's something that has become very powerful about that and very raw, actually. Yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about it. We're not like recruiting people or anything like that, by the way. I just wanted to open up about it and document it. It's short but sweet, but yeah, I hope you guys are all okay. I just wanted to share that with you. Over and out, and peace.